What's up, guys? Mount Vernon Kid here, back again. Ooh, ooh. How's everybody doing on their end? Welcome back to the Opinion Spot. And not too long ago, guys, last week, I would say, pretty much last week, I did a live stream. Yes, indeed, did a live stream, and we were talking. I was talking about how I love the JSA and things like that. I even said I like the JSA a little bit more than I like the JLA Justice League. No disrespect to the Justice League, but I've always had a big fondness for the Justice Society of America. And so I said, maybe one day I'll put up my top 10 favorite uh, JSA members, and I kind of threw it back at my subscribers and my viewers. Would you guys like to see that? And people were saying, yeah, I would love to see that. That'd be cool, Chris. So that's what I'm doing today, guys. That is exactly what the Omni-Geek High Lord of New York is doing for all his fellow High Lords and ladies. Giving you my top 10 favorite JSA members. The first two characters, number 10 and number 9, is none other than our man, Rick Tyler, and his wife, Jessie Chambers, aka Jessie Quick, aka Liberty Bell, aka I said that, Jessie Quick, yeah. I love this duo very much. Very cool couple. When Rick first came on, remember, this our man Rick is the son of the original our man Rex Tyler, who was a chemist who experimented with the drug known as Miracle, and and later on Rick took over the mantle, which is cool. Once again, that's one thing I love and respect about DC is the legacy of many of these characters. And Jessie Chambers, aka Liberty Bell, aka Jessie Quick, is the daughter of two classic heroes, Johnny Quick, and her mother was the original Liberty Bell. So, and she inherited both of her parents' powers. Her powers are in tune to the Speed Force, and she has flight and super speed, hence why she runs really fast. But also she has her mother's super strength. That kind of irritates her father because her father doesn't kind of really understand the attributes of where that came from. In a sense, like, how does she have that? So she has both her parents' powers, which is really cool. We've seen them both. Later on, they had a child. They have a child together. After Jessie started losing her powers, it was due to her childbirth. Later in the series, this is all pre-52 stuff that's going on that I'm talking about, guys. And even one time, Jessie was a part of the Justice League prior to the New 52 starting, when Dick Grayson Batman was leading the group with him, Jade, Donna Troy, Congo, Gorilla, Starman, people like that. It was a good team, pretty good. But I always enjoyed the team. They're just really a dynamic duo. They lead off of each other really well, and they're just really fun. I really do, really much enjoy our man and Liberty Bell, Jessie Chambers, and Jessie Quick, however you want to call that. So next up on the list is number 9. My number 9 is Citizen Steel, Mr. Haywood himself. Yeah, the Indestructible Man, as that's his nickname. He first appeared in the JSA Volume 3 run, written by Jeff Johns. I believe Jeff Johns was still writing at that time. And what's pretty sad about Citizen Steel's story is his family, particularly his whole bloodline, except for his young nieces and nephews, were all wiped out by Nazis, led by Super Nazi, the villain Super Nazi. And if I remember correctly, how he gained his abilities was he had stabbed one of the superpowered Nazis in the throat, who had like the steel-like skin that was indestructible. Stabbed him in the throat, and the vomit of the said Nazi basically threw up all over him. And in the course, how he got his steel-like skin, and he's pretty much indestructible. When he walks, the ground cracks. That's how heavy he is. He's really heavy. He can't be moved unless he wants to be moved. He's kind of like Luke Cage in a sense, indestructible skin. When they introduced him in Legends of Tomorrow, they went more with the whole like he can turn it off and on. He can't turn that off and on. He can't. His skin does not turn silver like a Colossus, which I really didn't like in Legends of Tomorrow. I was like, why did he put that? No. His skin just looks like you and I. Like he's white, so it just looks like, pinkish pigmentation. Just you blink it, it'll pink or things like that. Of course, with him being indestructible, it comes with the super strength and things like that. Right now, you're probably seeing the beautiful rendition of Alex Ross's cover from JSA. I love those covers. I have mostly all of them from the JSA. Alex Ross did a great job, beautiful job at rendering a lot of the just JSA members. But Citizen Steel is another one of my favorites. I love the character. I know they introduced him later on in Earth 2 when Tom Taylor was still writing it. That's when I was really loving it. But after that, when Tom Taylor, don't get me wrong, Dan Abnett, great writer, but he had big shoes to follow with Tom Taylor's great run of Earth 2, and it kind of just tanked for me. I jumped off after Tom Taylor left. But yes, Citizen Steel, very good. Very good character. Love him. Okay, so number 7 on the list is none other than Miss Courtney Whitmore, aka Stargirl, aka she used to be called the Star Spangled Kid before Jack Knight, the character Jack Knight, gave her staff, and then she started going by Stargirl. Stargirl has a special place in my heart, but also has a special place in her creator's heart, Jeff Johns, co-creator, I believe. Jeff Johns created her in memory of his sister, who died in the famous crash flight from 1996, the TWA Flight 800. She died in that flight. So he honored her by making Stargirl. Stargirl has her personality, and I think that's really cool. I love that. I love seeing when creators do that. When they create characters, they create them after maybe a loved one that died, and I respect that for Jeff Johns for doing that. That's a lot of respect for that. But Stargirl is pretty much the original. I would say she's the original young member of the JSA. She's been a JSA member for a long time. So when you see her outside of the JSA, that's always like a blast for me. Like, whoa, she's outside of JSA, cool. I remember when they relaunched the Justice League of America, she was on that team. I was like, whoa, she's not on the JSA, but it was still cool. All her powers come from that staff. She's just a normal teenage girl without that staff. But she's still a cool character. I love her. She's beloved. She's very recognizable. Stargirl, she's legit. She's cool. She's good people. Good people. Big ups for Jeff Johns for doing that. Next up on the list, number 6 on the list is none other than Dr. Midnight. Let me tell you something, guys. I love characters who have disabilities because not only do the enemies underestimate them because of their disability, it makes them more unique, sometimes even more dangerous. Dr. Midnight is a physician. He's a physician superhero, which I enjoy. That's even cooler. He's like the resident medic of the JSA, but he's blind. He's dated as the first visually impaired superhero 20 years before Daredevil. No disrespect to the man without fear, Matt Murdock. He's one of my top 10 favorite Marvel heroes of all time. But he outdates. Dr. Midnight outdates Daredevil by 20 years. The first Dr. Midnight, Dr. Midnight first appeared in 1941. It's another legacy character. There have been 3 people who had the mantle. The first one was the original Dr. Charles McNider, I believe that's how you say his name. The next was what was her name? Chapel. That was her last name. She was an African American from South Carolina who has ties to Dr. Nitter. And then the one that I got really bonded with and close more with, even though I went back and read all the other stuff before, was Pieter Cross. That's the current Dr. Midnight. I love that about him. He wears these special goggles that allows him to see in broad daylight, because he could see at night, no problem. But in the daytime, he has like these special goggles that enhances his sight. Even though his sight continues to deteriorate over time, but each character has a connection to the previous, which is really cool. He's got also martial arts training, things like that. But it's just the fact that he's a physician. That's so cool in my view with a team. Having a great team like the JSA, and you have a physician on the team like that can help save one member's down. The physician of the team can go like a real army league. You got your medic. You got your medic and people like this on the team. And of course all the Midnights had their sidekick, which was an owl, kind of like a nod to to Falcon, with Red Wing. But yeah, they all have these. He all has this trained owls as a sidekick. Dr. Midnight's cool. We haven't seen Dr. Midnight in some time in the comics, though. It's such a shame for a great character that he is. I would love to see him come back. Somebody, if you probably want to ask me, so what did you think of Dr. Midnight in the Legends of Tomorrow? I think from what I got from it is that they merged the second Dr. Midnight with the first Dr. Midnight. Because in Legends of Tomorrow, Dr. Midnight was black. So in the second Dr. Midnight that came out in 1985, she was black. So I think they merged them together kind of to give that. And I was like, I see where they're going with it. It was okay. Didn't really mind it too much. But, Dr. Midnight's still a cool character. The only thing missing, was his owl. He didn't have his owl in Legends of Tomorrow. Cool character. We can move on to the top 5. Here we go. Let's do it. Number 5 on the list is none other than Miss Karen Starr, aka Power Girl. Yes, people, I love Power Girl, and it's not just because of the boob window. Let's get that out your head real quick. No, I very much have a lot of respect for Power Girl. Where she came from, she's originally one of the sole survivors of Earth 2, the original Earth 2. She is the Earth 2 version of Supergirl, just mature. So basically, take Supergirl, all grown up, fully powered, you get Power Girl. I like that she is not only, she's not just the muscle of the team, but she's got brains. She's very intelligent, and I think people forget that. But she is one of those funny characters that loves to break the fourth wall. She breaks the fourth wall. Besides Deadpool, she also breaks the fourth wall. She-Hulk used to do it too. But I remember in one of her comics, she's explaining who she is, and they got the panel right on her boobs, and she's like, eyes up here. And I thought that's hilarious. I love that line. And anytime I hear that line, eyes up here, I think of Power Girl, because it's just the way it is. She's had some very interesting stories. One of her enemies that used to be like a foil to her was Ultra Humanite. Ultra Humanite used to just be fascinated with her. I'm like, what? I know she's nice to look at, but it's like, damn, dude, like, leave her alone. As you all know, as a Kryptonian, she has all the strengths of the Kryptonian because of the yellow sunlight. She actually even led the Justice League for a time, Justice Society for a time, and even when the Justice Society branched out into two divisions, the All Stars and the original team, she led that team prior to the New 52 starting up. Power Girl is a great character. I'm glad to see that she still is loved in people's eyes. Yes, Supergirl's great, but here's what Supergirl is to become, in a sense. That's the way I look at it. This is what Kara is going to become, in some sense. She has a little bit of a different attitude than Kara, but Karen is still great. And hopefully someday we'll see her in some form of live action again. So yeah, Power Girl makes my number 5. Number 4 on the list is none other than the original Flash himself, Mr. J. Garrett. I remember reading Flash, the original Flash, second Flash, back in the day. I remember I was like maybe 14 or 13, and he kept mentioning a guy called Jay Garrett, and I was like, who's Jay Garrett? Didn't know who that was, and I saw him, and I was like, at first, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, when I first saw Jay as a kid, I laughed. I was like, that's the Flash. I laughed at it because I was like, he looks stupid, but I recognized the Hermes helmet real quick because, like I said, being a big Greek mythology and mythology buff, I recognized that. I was like, okay. So later on, my dad, helped, and when going to comic stores later in my early days, I found some earlier stuff. I asked the comic store owner, do you have any books on Jay Garrett? I want to know more about him. And I did. I started learning more about him. He's the original Flash. He's the Golden Age Flash. His powers are not connected with the Speed Force. It's a different way. It's more of an experiment. He's fast, but maybe not as fast as Wally and Bart and all those and Barry, but he's fast. He's still cool. I got to learn a lot about him. He was just the original Boy Scout, really cool, down to earth. He was Captain America, like just a speedster version. I always wondered about, I always thought it was funny. I was like, so how does this guy hide his face? He's just wearing a helmet. Somebody can still see his face. And then when I finally saw how when he interviewed people, nobody could see his face because he would vibrate it. Jay was the first to do that, the vibrating his the muscles in his face so nobody could see him. Jay was the first to do that. And over time, the older I got, the more I started to love and respect Jay as a character, as a veteran who is passing his knowledge on to the next generation. Jay is a great character. He's one of the, when I look at it, he's one of the trinity of the JSA. If he's not on the JSA, I'm like, where's Jay? There is no JSA without him, in my opinion. He's a founding member, Jay Garrett. Number 3 on the list. Number 3 goes off to, once again, Golden Age, the first Green Lantern, Mr. Alan Scott. The utmost respect for Alan Scott. Utmost. I've been trying to hope you're watching, bro, because here he is right here. I love Alan Scott. Once again, here's another story. Same thing. Knew about the original. Know about Hal and all that, but didn't know too much about Alan Scott. I would hear older kids talk about, Alan Scott, and I'm like, who's Alan Scott? And I saw him, and I was like, okay, he's different. He doesn't look like the original Green Lantern. And some of the older fans, which I appreciate. I wish I could have thanked those guys. They sat me down and showed me. This all happened at a comic shop. They sat me down and basically told me about Alan, and I read him and I was like, he's cool. His powers are different. Doesn't come from the Power Valley. the battery on Oa and all that stuff. No, his power comes from the Star Heart, a different alien source. Still was cool. I really got intrigued about it. But the one thing that also intrigued me about Alan was his kids, Jade and Obsidian. I fell in love with Jade real quick, and when she died in Crisis, I was so hurt. I was like, but then when she came back, it was good to see her. I love Jade more than I like Obsidian, but I love Jade more. I love her. Yeah, maybe a little attracted to green women. I don't know. I think I am, but yeah, Alan is just a really cool character. When they brought him back in a New 52, I didn't mind his look. I was like, that's a cool look. It's cool. His powers are more tuned to Earth. I was like, that's cool. And I didn't mind, guys, that they made him gay. I was like, okay, so he's gay. Does that hurt the character? No, but this is a different version of him. But still, Alan is still a great character. The only thing I will say is when the last run of JSA, prior to the New 52, he had this really ugly costume. Because he had really hurt himself. He was like nearly crippled after a huge battle. I forgot who was with. I think it was Eclipso. I forget who was with, but he was really hurt. He barely could move. So he made this other costume. It just looked really terrible. I was like, ew, that's ugly. That's ugly. But Alan Scott, great character indeed. I love him. He makes my number 3 as my favorite JSA member. Number 2 on the list is none other than Mr. Ted Grant, aka Wildcat, former boxing champ, the man who taught Batman the art of boxing, taught Black Canaries, another, in my opinion, member of the JSA. In my opinion, is one of the Trinity of the JSA. When I think about the Trinity of the JSA, I think about Alan, Jay, Ted. You talk about seasoned vet, no powers, just all true grit and just skill level. We're talking about Ted Grant. Ted is another character that's been around for years. The reason why he became Wildcat is to clear his name. People wanted him to take a fall in the boxing match, but he refused to. So, if I remember correctly, members of the people, I think it was the mob that wanted him, told his manager, his trainer, to spike his gloves. They put a syringe in his gloves, so when he was fighting and he was boxing and he threw the punch, the syringe hit the guy and killed him. So he was framed for murdering this guy, and later on he donned the cat suit and went out, got justice on his own, and Wildcat was born. It was really cool. Ted has been with the team for years. He's another seasoned vet, and when I mean seasoned, I don't mean in a bad way. I mean in a good way. You can learn a lot from Ted. And Ted's that no nonsense guy. He's straight grit. Like you training with him, be ready to throw down. He's not going to pull his punches, which I love. He has a son, Tom Bronson, who he didn't even know he had, but he does. And his son is a metahuman that can turn into a werecat, like a black big black tomcat. I remember the funniest thing is I remember he was teaching Tom how to box, and I remember it's so funny because Tom was like saying, "Dad, look, I'm faster than you, I'm stronger than you, I can, blah blah blah," and he's like, "Come on," he's like, "Shut up, just show me what you got." And Tom's bouncing all over the place using his cat reflexes. And he's like, "Okay, old man," and here I come. And and then Ted just went whop, just hit him one time and hit the floor. And Ted just showing him, like, you bounce around too much. He's like, "I saw that punch coming a mile away. You telegraphed that punch so quickly." He was trying to teach him, like, You telegraph, even though you got these metahuman powers, doesn't make you better than anybody. I think that was one thing Ted was trying to teach Tom, was like, you got these metahuman powers, but you still got a lot to learn. And dropping the knowledge, Ted Grant. Don't get me started on what they did to him in Arrow. That was, to me, that was disgusting. No disrespect to the actor, but no, that was not Wildcat in my opinion. I really wish they had a seasoned, older actor playing. I've even said it before. I said it jokingly, but there are times I've actually meant it. I said, man, I would have taken even Chuck freaking Norris as Wildcat. I would have been like, I'm not gonna argue it. It would, at least it would have been legit, you know. But I love Ted Grant. He's another character I'm hoping DC brings back. Man, come on. There have been other Wildcats, but this is my Wildcat. Yeah, Ted Grant. And last but not least, this guy not only makes up my #1 favorite JSA member, but he's also one of my top 10 favorite DC characters. And that's none other than Mr. Michael Holt, aka Mr. Terrific. Another legacy character. Remember, there was a previous Mr. Terrific, Terry Sloan, before him. Terry Sloan was the previous Mr. Terrific. Michael comes along and takes up the mantle, and man, does he take it, and he takes it and runs with it so good. It's almost as if, I wouldn't say the torch was passed. I would say in some way, Michael took the torch. He took it from Terry, but still honors Terry. The whole fair play means a lot, and I'm thinking about even getting that tattooed on me, because I love that slogan that Michael believes in. You know, I'm thinking about either getting it on my arm somewhere, probably my right arm, because my right arm, the tattoos are going to be just for me. My left arm is for family members that passed and loved ones, things like that. But I'm thinking about getting them on my knuckles. Fair play, just a suggestion. But the one thing I love about Mr. Terrific, you know, he is one of those great African American characters that is not just, he's not quote unquote the black friend to another hero in a sense, you know, just, he's not the black sidekick or something like that, you know. And no disrespect to any of those characters like that, but Michael can stand on his own. He's got his own company. He can stand on his own. You know, he's the third smartest man in the DC universe. Third. There are people out there that, what's that saying? That saying, 2 is not a winner and 3 nobody remembers. You remember Michael Holt. Michael Holt had everything he ever wanted. He had a loving brother who had a disability that he took care of. He had a loving wife. He had a child on the way. All that taken away. Wasn't fair. He lost his brother. Wasn't fair. He lost his wife and unborn child. Wasn't fair. This guy was going to commit suicide because he felt life wasn't fair. Wasn't fair. And it was Spectre who came to him. Spectre number 54, I believe, where he first appeared. And the Spectre told Michael about the original Mr. Terrific. And the story goes on from there. Not only is he's got 14 PhDs. He's been a member of Checkmate. I believe he was a Black Knight or their White Knight. I'm forgetting which one he was. I think he was a Black Knight. I said he's got 14 PhD. His technology is so advanced. There's even times Batman has come to him with upgrading his tech. That's saying a lot. He's got several degrees of martial art. I think he's got 8 black belts in several different disciplines of martial arts. And I love his T-spheres, of course, that basically fly around him all the time. He's invisible to any kind of monitoring, security system. Like, he can be right on a security camera and they won't see him because of the tech that he has on him. He is one of the other things about Michael is he's an atheist. He doesn't believe in God. He doesn't believe in any of that stuff, which is very intriguing because of the fact he lives in a world that are filled with godlike beings and demons and things like that. And it's just like, wow, you don't believe in a higher power, but you got all these higher power beings around you, which just really intrigues me even more. And I remember even thinking like, wow, that's very interesting. But I love him. I love Michael Holt, Mr. Terrific. I love his look. I love his old look. You're probably seeing his old look from another picture by Alex Ross to my side. I love that look more than I liked his New 52 look when he had the red T mask on, because he reminded me of one of the red T's from Batman Beyond. I was like, no, I don't like that. But he's also what was the other thing I wanted to say about him? That was the other thing. As for his live action counterpart, no, total disrespect to the character. No, not my opinion. In some way, because first of all, he's not Michael Holt, but still, you calling yourself Mr. Terrific, you better live up to the name, and you don't. Far cry from what you're seeing right now, guys. But yeah, Mr. Terrific makes my #1 favorite JSA members. I'm thinking everybody should have known he was coming. No disrespect to any other characters in the JSA. I have a lot of favorite JSA members, but this is my top 10. But I have others. But other than that, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this list. Who are your favorite? Who are your top 10 favorite JSA members? Are you a fan of the JSA? Let me know. Leave your comments in the comment section below. As always, guys, this is Mom Brain Kid coming to you with the opinion spot, where your opinion matters. Peace, one love, stay tuned, keep it real. I'll see you guys next time. Ooh, that was fun. Y'all take care.